please welcome Brian Sturkie.
Thanks. Is this good? You know, before I get started, I just have to thank my wife for putting this together and all the hard work that she puts into these shows every month. And I'm a little nervous because she's on the attack tonight, it seems like. And you know, why is it always multitasking? You fellas, we always get hit with multitasking, you know? We've been married 14 years, and she should know by now that multitasking for me is impossible. There's just no way. I mean, she can fold clothes, send text messages, and make lunch all while she's driving. Now, me, it's all I can do to hold my beer while I have to break wind and do that at the same time. It's physically impossible. So, you know, finally I told her, after many years of hearing this, I told her just last week that if she wanted to marry someone who could get a bunch of stuff done, she should have married another woman. So, you know, tonight I kind of feel like I'm the Conan O'Brien to Jackie's Jay Leno. She hands me the show for a very brief period of time, and you know, then she moves to another time slot and takes the audience back. So, you know, the last year for us has been a crazy year, as I know it has been for a lot of people, but we've tried a lot of new things, and it's been a great year for me to do some new things. I mean, things we haven't done before, and I started my own business. I went up in a hot air balloon a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to stand up, and we had sex again, and that's something that it seemed like new. You know, so, you know, when we first got married, I was really afraid of commitment. It took some getting used to. I mean, it took me 3 months after we got engaged to give her a key to my place, even though we'd already been living together for 2 years. So, this is one of my favorite stories. Right after we got married, she used to ride horses every Saturday morning. And she did this with a good friend, and she ended up doing it for a couple of years, and it was, you know, it was great fun, because I really loved the riding outfit that she put on. And I mean, she had the whole thing, right? She'd get dressed, she had the little hat, she had the riding crop, which was good. And then there was the pants. And we all love the pants, right? So, and every single time she'd get dressed, right before she'd walk out the door, she'd turn to me and she'd go, "Honey, do these riding pants make my butt look big?" I may have been a newlywed, but I was not an idiot. So I said, every time, I say, "No, honey, I think they're just right." But after a while, it wore down. The political correctness wore down. So you probably, about the 105th consecutive Saturday morning, she asked me that same question. And I spoke before I thought, and probably could have wiped out my marriage in about one sentence. When the inevitable, "Honey, do these pants make my butt look big?" surfaced, I instantly answered without thinking, "Yes, dear, they do, but you could always ride a bigger horse." Or get a bigger stage, perhaps. That would work too. You know, now that we have a family, our dinner conversations are fascinating, and, you know, we're pretty funny to be around to begin with, but at one end of the table we have the sarcastic, sassy woman who always likes to get in the last word. It never fails. And then on the other, we have the straight-up nice guy who likes women that talk back. And then in the middle, you have me and Jackie, because we sit on the short sides, and our kids, it's actually our kids that do this. So, speaking of kids, we have two. We have a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. And they're full of questions. And, you know, every so often, they ask you a question, and you stop, and you freeze for an instant, and you can go, you know, I can give them the straight answer. Or I can give them an answer that sets them up for years of therapy much later down the road. So it's much like Jackie's dad did growing up when she and her brothers asked him to go to Disneyland, and instead he took them to a burned out old dairy and then cried in mock horror that it had closed. But as I learned quick, you know, sometimes the wrong answer works for you in more than one way. You know, when my son was 3, the ice cream man came barreling down the street and stopped at the stop sign down near our house. And a long line of children instantly appears, as it always happens. You know, my son, who was giving me grief at the time about getting into his car seat, he didn't want to do, he turned to me and he said, "Dad, what's that?" Then there's that pause. You're going, okay, there's 2 ways I can go. I'm taking the low road this time. And what's amazing is how fast the answer came out of my mouth. thinking of all the ice cream money that I could save to spend on beer later on down the road, I instantly answered, "Son, that's the bad child truck." He comes into the neighborhood every day, and all the parents whose kids didn't listen to them send them out to get punished. That's why they're lined up down there. And I said, you can always hear him coming because of the music. Strangely, we never had any trouble getting him into the car seat after that. And, and then there's my daughter. She's 5. She came home a couple of weeks ago, and during that rush for making end of school year play dates, there seems to be some magical rush at the end of the school year to get in that last play date as if they're going to go away during the summer. She comes in and she says, "Daddy," she said, "can I start charging for play dates?" And I think that's pretty good. And I said, "Yes, but don't take any money from boys who might become a Republican governor, because it might give them the wrong idea later on down the road." When her personality really came out, she had boyfriends everywhere, but she was horrible about remembering names. So one day we were walking home from school and she turned to me and she said, "Daddy, I have 3 boyfriends." And I answered, "Really?" I said, "What are their names?" And she said, "Well, there's Aiden, and then there's Gabe," and she said, "and then there's that little boy from IKEA." And I responded by saying, "Well, did he come assembled or did you have to put it together?" And what amazes me talking about money are these different phases our kids go through are horribly expensive. First there's the Wiggles, we all know. Then there's Hello Kitty, and now it's Hannah Montana. She recently got a Hannah Montana school notebook and proudly held it up and said, "Daddy, I wish Hannah Montana had braces." And I thought, me too, some braces, some acne, I could save enough for her first year of college. So my son, I'll talk about him briefly here. He's 7 and he's learning very much. I mean, he learns, he reads all the time, and he really likes spicy food. And sometimes he gets in a little too much of a hurry with what he's reading and what he's trying to understand. So the other day he went with me to Safeway, and we get to the condiment aisle and he got really sad. He just out of nowhere. And I turned to him and I said, "Son, what's wrong?" And he said, "Dad, it's not fair." I said, "What?" He said, "There's a sign on the door that says you have to now be 18 to buy Tabasco products." True story. And another thing, as he's learning right now, as he reads and he's trying to do all this, are body parts. This is fun. He asked me just yesterday why his penis was shaped like a pencil and why girls don't have one. To which I responded, "That's easy. Girls actually have pins because they don't make mistakes." Well, that was my first time. Thank you very much.